This is a workshop workshop to discuss the development of the budget for the coming fiscal year. Should we start with the pledge?
Sure.
Great. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm gonna try to describe what I understand we're doing today, and Jennifer, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is our first workshop on the developing the operating budget for the coming fiscal year. Our treasurer and department heads have begun to pull together those budgets. They've been assembled here in some documents. We've got today from 3 to 5 to take our first pass and get through as much of this as we can. Our objective is to get to the Warrant and Finance Committee what date? 7th or? No, the 7th.
Yeah, their first meeting with department heads is on the 6th of March.
On the 6th, but they've asked them to be delivered to them by when?
Well, they'd like it the weekend before to start looking at it. They have a meeting on Monday, but that's just for the special town meeting.
So the weekend before would be what date, Jennifer?
Right around the 3rd.
Right around the 3rd. So, we've got some work to do to get through these budgets, and our intent is not to finalize anything today, but simply take a pass and make sure that, if we have some departments that we don't have budgets for, like municipal government, that we can begin to put that together, and for those that we have submitted budgets for, such as transfer station, fire department, etc., time permitting, we'll get through those. If we don't get through it all today, we're likely going to need at least one more meeting, and we'll see how that goes if we need another in order to get them out to the Warrant and Finance Committee by the time they have I got that right?
It's perfect.
Okay, great. So I see we have a package here of material.
Yes, so it'll be easiest if you separate it into 3 piles. So Kelly has the first half that's clipped is the actual initial worksheets that we're gonna be going on.
All right.
The next thing you wanna set to your left or right is the expense summary report, which shows you all of the accounts as of today, not counting this week's bills. And then the supporting document.
And this looks like this?
Yes, that's the supporting documents that we made.
Supporting documents.
That's everything all the different departments turned in.
Oh, okay, fine.
But
That's their
essentially,
submissions. All right.
Yep, so essentially, Kelly has gone through and entered all of the budget requests into this first clip section.
Wonderful.
So we're gonna be going down through, filling in blanks. Kelly's gonna be taking notes on what numbers we come up with, and the ones that have numbers there are what you're gonna talk about.
So this third stack, we probably don't need to refer to unless there's a problem or a question. So I can put those aside and we're down to 2.
That's right.
Okay.
Just like that. See how we did that?
All right.
All right, so if it's okay, Tom, we'll go through it.
Please, go right ahead.
All right, so the first line is the selectman's salary. So, what we need to figure here, so we know that, we need to figure in a 4th selectman, and we need to determine, whether you want 5% or not increases. So, Kelly will do the math down the road if you're just saying add the 4th selectman, but really the question is there any other increase on this line?
Well, we've tentatively talked about a 5% increase for...
We're doing across the board?
Across the board.
Yep.
It's still, I think, given the inflation numbers we looked at the other day, you can make an argument it could be more or less. I happened to do some searches on the web, and it said on average people are going to be doing 4.5%. So, but that's an average. So there'll be some above, some below. So to me, 5% seemed like a reasonable place to end up. So I'm fine sticking with that for now. I don't know how you folks feel, so.
We talked 5-6% last time we talked about it.
Okay, so leave it at 5%
Leave it for now and
at this
see where we-
stage, and if we want to, or do you want to have more discussion about that?
I'm fine with the 5%.
So let's leave it there for now, we can come back to it.
Okay.
We can
So
come back to it
let's apply
afterwards.
that to
So
all salaries across the board, with the exception of maybe the fire
Well,
department.
we're gonna, we'll talk about those, because most of these have that included, and we'll go through them. So for this line, she'll calculate the 4th selectman plus 5%.
Yes,
Okay, perfect. Like Medicaid will be calculated.
Yeah.
The town gym, so we are still, heating that until we,
yeah, I'm trying to figure out where we are.
last bill.
right.
My first page has the
yeah, so we did that. So we're gonna go
Selectmen's
right
salary,
down through these blanks. So we just figured out what the salary is gonna be.
You
FICA,
passed on
Medicaid,
that.
I'm down here.
Oh,
Down Jim.
Oh,
right here, like the official.
there.
Okay.
I couldn't pick that
Yeah, so
out.
we're just gonna go through each one.
Got it. All right. Electricity for town gym.
Is there any reason why can we drain the pipes, or is there a reason why we're keeping it warm?
Well, my recommendation, we have a presentation tonight from our engineer. We think that something's gonna happen with this building going forward, and it may even be in this warrant. For the sake of budgeting and $400, let's just leave it alone. Let's see what happens with the engineer. I understand that may be one of your first projects, this whole parking lot building, from what I've kind of heard.
Yeah.
So-
Can we talk about electricity in general?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the electric rates, at least, maybe not the transmission, but the core, there are two components to the electricity charge. There's the transmission piece and then the actual energy piece.
Deliverance.
And that's I've heard it's gonna double. Whether that's, does anybody know anything about that?
Yeah, we've seen increases.
You do?
There's already been increases.
So if we had a budget of $400, and it looks like we've spent
54%.
54, so we're right on line with that.
Or February should be
I'm trying to apply this logic to the other electricity budgets, not so much the $400. It seems to me if you've heard it is gonna double, you've been told it is gonna
Well,
double?
it said on the news, it said that the delivery aspect was gonna increase between 25 and 40%.
That's the delivery piece?
I think the delivery piece.
So how about the core energy, is that?
I don't know, Tom, I'd have to.
Why don't you contact Central Maine Power and find out what is likely to happen to those rates, and whatever that percentage is, I would just apply it to these budgets. Here and any place else there's an electricity budget.
Fair enough.
Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay.
The next is the assistant line. So this is the two clerical positions that are in the office, the deputy town clerk tax collector and the office assistant. Both of these are based on 5% increases.
Good.
The deputy town clerk tax collector is 40 hours. The other one currently works 21 hours, but some conversations that we're gonna have when we get into the treasurer line is, remember that the current deputy town clerk tax collector used to work for the treasurer as well. There was one day a week that she had some support. So we've increased this a little bit to, to allow for that increase.
Okay.
To allow for one day of support in the new fiscal year.
All right.
So that's the assistant line, Medicaid.
It doesn't look like the 250 line has even had any expenditures this year, if I read this correct.
That's correct, it has
So I
not,
would just leave it as it is. This must be just
just in case.
in case, okay.
So that stays the same. All right, so
All right.
the next section is the municipal management. So these are the numbers that we need to fill in on your behalf.
Yes.
So the first one, the unemployment, did you have some information on unemployment numbers?
I left it in my office.
It's okay. You know how many times I get up in meetings and walk across? It
Right.
happens, Kelly. Welcome. I'm always walking across the meetings. Do you want us to cover a few that we can handle? Sure. Okay. Let's, this whole employee benefit, she's gonna go over that with you.
Good.
So let's just
All right.
look at the supplies,
Yeah.
because that's in my area.
Is-
So we've left the supply line,
Oh, yep.
alone at 4,000 for the office supplies. We spent exactly 50%.
Yeah.
Postage, same thing, 50%.
He's up, yeah.
Cleaning, we're gonna need to go up on because you guys increased the cleaning.
Yeah?
So that line will take what you guys approved, I don't have an invoice in front of me, and
Okay.
multiply it times 52.
Annualize that?
Yeah. And then, heating oil, we're good at, I mean, we've been really lucky
Yeah.
with Down East Energy.
Oh, that's right.
They give you a
It's actually
phenomenal rate.
propane.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
$1.84.
We're doing more electric anyways than we are oil anyways, right?
No, I mean, this whole
we've
building
got
runs
the
off
new heat
propane, the,
Yeah.
The heat pump.
pumps.
Oh, yeah, the heat pump. No, the heat pump's electrical.
But
I thought they were off propane, no?
No.
No, I doubt it.
Okay, so,
They should be electrical.
okay,
Yeah.
well, that might be why it's so low then.
Yeah,
But do you, I mean, so are you looking to lower that or just leave it the same?
let's leave it.
I would leave it for now and then.
All right. So that supply line all stays the same except for cleaning.
Yeah.
The professional and tech, the first one, employee training. This line, as you look, is well overdrawn because this is the, so this line essentially is for Board of Selectmen training. This is where we paid the trio out of when they came down to do the reporting
Yeah.
and stuff for the whole building, so that's why it's overdrawn. It's not gonna be again, so we're recommending leaving it at 5,000.
You certain of that?
Well, the budgets are in
It's $500, not $5,000.
500, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, You don't think, we would need more training with
The
Trio and other?
selectmen, no, I mean, we have
No,
training.
not
in our-
selectmen, I'm thinking of others.
They have them, and that you'll see increases in their individual budgets.
Fine, okay. Okay. All right.
Dues and memberships, there is, May Municipal for our annual dues don't bill until May, June, that's why it doesn't look like it's very expended,
Okay.
but we did confirm
You
with them.
expect to expend that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, computer repair, we're at about 64%. One of the issues with the computers, right now is that, we know that we've lost our IT person, we've got someone filling in. All the computers are running off different versions of Windows and different versions of Microsoft. And it is not good. I mean, I've got one, if I have an employee working on the town report in one office, and then she emails it to me, everything's shifted.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be using this money next year to get everybody on the same version and upgrade, so.
How about the actual computers themselves? How
They're-
new, how old are they?
No, they're in pretty good shape. We had him check each individual one, and, they're in
So
pretty
it's
good
really
shape.
just software
Yeah.
upgrades? And you think 3,000 will do that?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's another line, there's another computer line a little further down. But that's just for the repair, so it's not software, it's repairs.
So the software is later?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's just when they
So
come in for
leave
the,
this line as it is?
Yeah, that's
the
our
3,000?
recommendation. Yep.
Yeah. Legal.
Okay, what did you spend? Where are you at with legal? So we've only spent a little over 3,000, but our legal has been 10,000 every year. Although we have a lot of things going on, luckily, May Municipal's covered them under our dues.
So this is Brad, or it could be land use, or, and, we've only spent 3,000?
Yes. We do pretty good.
Yeah, actually, that is, because we're in contact with them
Municipal
quite a
really
bit.
bailed us out this year.
Well,
Yeah,
May Municipal
that's
does
true.
all of the,
Yeah,
right.
all the employment-related
Right.
things,
Yeah.
so.
And we reach out to them anytime we can, but, yeah, but I don't recommend lowering it.
No,
because
it's
you
one of
never
those
know.
lines, as soon as you lower it, you're gonna need it.
Right.
And so, I would leave it there.
Okay. Next one's your line, Tom.
Audit services. Now, this does not include the town.
This is just,
Excuse me, does not include the school.
no, sir.
And the engagement for R.H. Smith was 12? The core audit?
That would be a Kelly question, but I believe it was the 12.
It was 12 or
Somewhere between 10
13.
and
We're
14.
carrying 20. And,
And in this case,
is there anything else that we expend here?
no, but for this year, we've used those extra non-attested services out of that line, that's why it's at 74%.
Yeah, I wouldn't decrease the line none.
No.
The concern is, where are we next year? What is it gonna cost to get get an auditor next year?
I'm concerned about that.
Okay?
And
I would almost increase that line.
I gotta tell you, from my experience, to get an audit done for $12,000 is really unbelievable.
Does that
And that's the going rate, okay, but, I think if you were to go to another firm, if we have that opportunity and we want to, my guess is that fee's gonna go up.
Okay.
And I think we should be open to that, to considering
We're at
that.
20,000.
So what's a good recommendation, Tom?
Where are we at?
I would just make it, I would make it 28, just to cover things.
30 for a round number?
Well,
You like 28?
that's-
Well, the thing is, if we do the 30, we can use that line also for, services like we're using now.
Yeah, okay.
Always use it for that.
That's fine.
So,
So
That's fine.
did you say 30?
Yeah, 30,000 for the audit services. Makes sense.
Figure out what she's getting paid now, and multiply it times 52 weeks, we know that number's gotta be increased. Then everything else, we're just keeping the same way.
All right, so we went with 30 on the audit service.
Okay?
Okay?
Can Kelly up here 1 second?
Drug testing, is this for new employees, or do we use
For
it?
the audit.
road commissioners.
So, yeah, that number can come down, because now that,
We've only got 2 employees on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only have 2 employees now.
so, I mean, you could lower that to, 500 if you wanted to.
All right, let's do it.
So we're lowering drug testing.
All right.
Yeah. Deed services?
Deed services, these are the, liens, any, foreclosures, things that have to be filed at the registry.
Okay, so these are registry fees?
Well, wait a minute, no, that's lien cost, that's got 0%. Well, normally, where do you pay your, when somebody gets a lien paid off and you release the lien?
There's a discharge
There's a
line.
discharge line. Let us circle 70 and get back to you. I don't know what that's, I mean,
What do you mean? The
I mean,
line
a
70?
deed service, yeah, it's gotta be for some type of real estate deed. I mean, once in a while, no, actually, I know what it's for.
I gotta tell you, for
You
$150,
don't care?
I would just leave it and.
It's for, like, when we did the foreclosure and we sold the property on West Shore Drive.
Yeah.
We had to file a deed that comes out of a different line.
I would
It's
just
not a
leave
lien.
it there and, okay? And by the way, I don't mean to be doing all the talking here, so.
Oh, they'll speak up.
Great, okay, I'm just trying to move it along.
That's fine.
Lien cost.
Lien costs, we leave the same. That's an average. I mean, that's one of those
You're at
things.
61% right now, so it's a little better than, what are we through? Actually, it's about right.
Right, but we only file liens once a year,
Okay, so.
so, but I wouldn't lower it because you never know. if
No,
the
I
number's
never
gonna
know,
go
leave
up.
it at 66. Alarm maintenance, that must be a contract?
That is a contract, and for now, that number is good, but, we did have a joint meeting today with the with the alarm company and the telephone company, and, the alarm system is just old and outdated. They cannot download into the panel, period. So you're gonna hear tonight, some suggestions, and we're gonna set up a meeting with a couple of companies and figure out what we're gonna do.
Good, all right.
So, but-
So you're gonna leave this line as it
Same
is
for
for
now.
now?
Yep.
Yeah, we should, all right. And, now we got prop utilities, what is that?
this is the, town hall.
Town hall.
Yeah.
So electricity, you're gonna follow up as we've discussed about that line?
Yeah, but that one's definitely going up. I mean, we've already
Yeah.
spent 96% of it.
I know,
I'm sure.
it's increasing every month.
Okay.
Telephone should be fine. Building maintenance, unless you have any projects, I mean, that's one of those things that depending on how much he has to shovel, I mean, you just never know what you're gonna spend out of that. If the faucet breaks or, I mean, most years we spend that down. I'm impressed with.
Shoveling, what,
Well, yeah, this year it wouldn't be shoveling, I know, as soon as I said
I was
that.
confused.
Yeah. Usually, it used to be hourly, so that's changed.
What about, for instance, the maintenance on the water system we're putting in?
That's
Well,
already
you-
paid, we've already got that in a different line.
Well, we have the water money, but we'll have to pay the plumber a good chunk.
No,
and
I'm
that would
talking
come out of
about, that requires annual maintenance, as I recall, where they've gotta come in, change filters out and so on, I don't know.
Did they ever give us a number of what that was gonna cost
Of
us?
the annual maintenance, it's in the contract, I'd have to pull
Yeah, I
it.
think I saw
But
that.
based on that building maintenance, that number should be enough.
Okay, all right, I would think so.
We've got some expenses coming up, we usually have the floor done in here once a year, and,
Well, when we get to our evaluation then too, we'll have to probably play with that line, I'm sure.
Yeah.
so leave it
All
for
right, so
now.
leave that as it is. Software rental?
Software
These are
rental,
agreements, rental agreements?
yep, and this is, I think we paid Trio out of that one, and we haven't, same thing, they bill right at the end of the fiscal year.
So you think this line's adequate? and
Yes, we reviewed with them what the
appropriately
number would be.
stated? Equipment repair,
Is that your photocopier line? I think that's it. Sound right?
Yeah.
it's trending pretty much on budget.
Photocopiers.
Yeah, but
The two
it's-
leases upstairs and down.
So it's a lease as opposed to repair?
Correct, I believe that's what you're paying out of that.
If you lease them, well, we do lease them, what happens when they need to be repaired? Are they covered?
Yeah, we buy an extended warranty through them, so it's covered the
Can we
whole time
change
have
the
it.
caption on this to copier? Or is it repair and lease equipment?
It should be just a lease, I would think.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess, I struggle with, I mean, the repair word, I guess I can see.
We may
Could
need
you do
it for
slash?
Yes,
repairs.
you never know.
Yeah, okay, well.
What kind of repair comes up.
So you think this number will cover the lease on the copier and leave us enough money for routine repair of equipment?
Yes, because the
office
leases
equipment?
go through next year,
Okay,
so.
that's good. Liability insurance, I'm sure we have a quote on that? Do we?
Oh. This is,
Looks like it's right on budget,
it
but
looks like
I
it's
would
gonna be over,
imagine,
looks like it's gonna be over budget, doesn't it?
I would imagine with our activity, this line could be going up.
So that one will,
Wouldn't you
let's
think?
put a to be determined next to that one, and we'll do some research on
Can we
that one.
contact them, or? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get an estimate. Printing,
That's primarily for, town
town
reports.
reports, ballots,
Oh, no, ballots come out of a different line.
okay,
But, advertisements that you guys may have,
okay, all right.
so.
It's not a very large line, 3,200, I would leave it. Equipment HW, what is that?
Hardware.
Oh, equipment communication hardware?
No, computer hardware.
Computer hardware, okay.
Hardware. I'm just gonna look at that. So this is where you would buy if you needed brand new
PC?
computers, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And we actually could, the Windows, the Microsoft 365 now, for corporations, we have to pay monthly, so it looks like we'll have plenty.
That
of
looks
room
like it
there.
would cover the cost of two PCs, which is not unusual. Fire truck? This
this
looks
is-
like it would go away, right?
Yeah, this is debt service. So,
So this line zeroes out?
yeah, we don't have any outstanding loans,
The
right?
loan's paid.
Everything's paid, so
Everything's paid.
So that's gonna,
that's just gonna be all, that whole section will be removed.
Great. Tax abatements.
So now this shows, that we're overdrawn 31,000, but again, anytime there is a supplement that offsets it, there's no reason to increase this line. The Warren Finance had a great question about why it was so overdrawn, and the assessor, I don't know if you saw his response, he says we're actually 6,000 in the positive now based on extra supplements and new buildings they've picked up, so the recommendation is to leave that line alone.
Okay. Write-off of what?
People that short their tax payment checks by a penny.
Okay.
So right before we go to tax lane, we go through and write off.
Like a movie I saw once.
Oh, it happens a lot.
Okay, and,
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, I think it was Superman. 2,500 for
That's just-
miscellaneous?
That's the only municipal management miscellaneous. I mean,
Okay, then you need one of those.
So let's go back, before we get too far ahead, Tom, to the section she went to get information on, the, first page, 10205. The
Okay.
employment compensation.
Which one?
So we're right here is what you went to go get, right? This whole
Yeah,
section?
unfortunately, I didn't do the unemployment compensation one. I just, it
Are
just,
we
just-
self-insured, or do we pay an insurance for unemployment?
we pay dues to Maine Municipal for unemployment.
So it's effectively insured through Maine Municipal?
I don't know exactly how it works, but I am on top of it and we'll get you some details on that.
In other words, if we were to have somebody terminate and it creates an unemployment cost, is that covered by an insurance with Maine Municipal, or is that billed back directly to us?
Well, I believe it's Maine Municipal, because when we've had those issues where someone said we denied them, Maine Municipal was the one who said
Well, they covered us, but I mean, we've had several unemployment, claims. I mean, we've had unemployment claims. I mean, I feel like it's billed back to us, but.
And you think it's billed back
I think
directly
so,
to
but
us?
let us double check. I mean, we're gonna have another one. We're gonna-
Because it can be done either way, it depends on how the state handles it.
I think
just
they're
don't-
covering us just from an insurance part, from like what David said. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Okay.
Oh, you had your hair done. Looks good. I noticed.
Yeah, I did too, but.
So Tom, I will get you the details on that unemployment.
Yeah?
But the workers' comp, that's what the sheet, the Excel sheet here.
Yeah.
And the municipal workers' comp this year is gonna be about 11,400.
So again, that's an insurance, a workers' comp? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And health insurance is going to be about 150.
Well, we should know all those numbers, because we got everybody enrolled, we know what those premiums are.
Yep.
They cover us through December of 2023, right?
Right.
And then there'll be some kind of an increase. So have you accounted on some kind of increase in January?
I was gonna shoot an email out to the lady that came here for the health insurance and ask what she thinks the
I think that's
standard
great.
percentage would be.
As I
for that.
recall from their documents that they gave us when we were
Yeah.
considering all of this, their increases were really very modest.
They were.
As I recall, so it might be like a 4%,
Mm-hmm.
inflationary adjustment, but if they have something different, go with with whatever they quote you,
Okay,
okay?
While we're talking about health insurance, we need to have the discussion about the fire department's health insurance. Now, that's the only department that is billed within their department. The transfer station, for example, when we get to their budget, you're not gonna see the health insurance for the transfer station in their line. You don't see it in the clerk's line, you don't see it in the code line, but you see it in the fire department line. So if you remember, when we were looking at changing companies, we moved money around because we
Yeah.
needed to pay for the fire department. So how does the board feel? It's certainly a lot cleaner for us if we pay it out of one, I mean, they're all municipal employees.
it doesn't make any sense to separate that one department and everybody else is separate. I would combine them.
I think from a budget management perspective, they ought to be combined. My only rationale for having it costed there is if you ever want to look at how much Acton spends versus other towns, how much is, a town spending on fire and rescue versus Acton.
Yeah, you're not seeing the whole thing.
You're not seeing, it's not apples and apples.
Right.
And so, but it doesn't bother me to have it there. But I would make clear to the fire department and any other department that those are not fungible monies.
Right.
If there's money left over in that line, that's effectively a town
Well,
budget,
that's
not
another,
a fire department
another reason
budget.
why we want to move it out of there.
No, and I'm fine with that, but
But every department should be, we combine them.
yeah.
But every department should show a line on the healthcare. That way there, anybody that goes down
wanna
through this
look.
could see that department, how much that's costing.
Yeah.
It's combined, but it should be visible here.
See, from my perspective, that would not only be true for benefits, it would be true for all salaries. Not overtime necessarily, but it seems to me if the department has a vacancy and they generate a savings from that, that does not become discretionary money that they can spend on equipment or some other thing. It ought to be, so it seems to me departments ought to have at their discretion everything other than compensation and benefits,
Those are lines they can't touch.
Those are lines, they're there for accounting purposes only, not for budget management purposes.
And if I could, Tom, that's one of the reasons why the board, and you guys kind of changed this over the last time we talked about it. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why we've always told the department heads that if you want something outside of one of these lines, you gotta come ask for permission, because
Right.
if not, short of you sending a memo to all of your department heads saying what you just said, what I mean? If we just say, look, 80,000 was approved at town meeting, let them spend it as it is, when it's done, they can take from that line.
I gotta look at the budget
They need
management
instruction.
document we just approved. I thought this was in there. I had it in there at one time, but maybe it got taken out, where it said that basically departments get to manage what I'll call non-compensation
Right.
lines. And anything with compensation is managed at a town level.
Yeah, materials and stuff like that,
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
swap things around.
supplies and equipment, that's
Wages,
fine.
I don't think they should be touching those.
I think that document has that in there, but we
we'll double
probably ought to
check.
reinforce that to all our department heads.
Okay.
Do we all agree with
We
that?
don't, yeah, because we
Yes.
don't wanna become, we don't wanna see a wages line come negative.
No.
Or be used to buy something that
Right.
otherwise they didn't have in their budget.
But if they move that down and they
Yeah.
flip it around, it could get messy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look
All right,
at
so
it.
we'll clarify that with everyone.
Okay, so we're still working on, so the unemployment compensation is gonna be to be determined for our next workshop.
Yeah.
Workers' compensation, do you have a number, Kelly, that you're?
Yep, just for the municipal, it's gonna be 11,400.
Okay, so do we think that number, so what did we spend before? Do we know why it's gone down? Because that strikes me as odd. Or did we over budget last year?
I didn't look at last year's and I wasn't here, so I don't know,
All right.
but
Tom, do you see that one real quickly? What we spent
I'm
last-
sorry, I've lost my lines here.
Oh, right here, unemployment compensation. So far, oh no, workers'
Can you
comp.
give me an account number?
Yeah.
So on the front page, 05.
Oh, it's on the front page.
That's why I can't look at it.
Yep. 05 municipal management, and then, 20. No, I'm sorry, 02.
So it's 13,000 is one line I'm looking at.
Yep, next one down.
Yep.
Oh, workers' comp.
Yeah.
15,470, and there's another one?
No, that's the one we're talking about right now.
Okay.
So does the fire department pay their own workers' comp
the fire department is
in
35,587.
a different line?
In a different line.
That's one of those lines we wanna
Combine.
capture and sort of freeze.
Yeah.
And it's not fungible into other lines.
Right, and we also have the school here, because the school reimburses the town for workers' comp. So I keep this spreadsheet, so I know
Where does that reimbursement go?
it goes back on the workers' comp line.
Right on that expense
Right-
line?
Right on the expense line.
Okay, so then their cost is shown against their budget, because they're reimbursing us, so it must create an expense for them. Okay.
Are you clear on whether we're combining these or keeping them separate?
I think we're combining them, but they're gonna have their own
No, I'm
line
not
item
clear on
under
that.
municipal.
I thought we were gonna leave them where they are, but provide, in other words, the cost appear in the individual departments, but basically let departments know those are frozen, those are not available as discretionary budgets.
So we're not combining?
I thought we were gonna
Isn't that
combine.
what I thought,
Well, you're saying, you guys are saying two different things, that's why I'm looking for clarification.
Yeah, I guess if, I want it so everybody can see exactly what every department spends on their wages. And in the past, that hasn't been the case. It's like when I was road commissioner, I would do my budget. We never had to budget it because it came out of another line item. It came out of, I believe, Jen, I don't know if it's the same now, I'm not quite sure, but back in the day, we would pull our FICA and everything out of a different line. What was that line called?
For roads,
Roads.
probably a FICA.
yeah, you used to pay it out of a municipal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
FICA.
and that was one thing that really bugged the hell out of me, because
Right.
I couldn't, because people didn't actually see the right number,
Right.
because it was disguised somewhere else on the other side of it.
I guess what I was kind of trying to say to Kelly here, off cue here, is when we got that email about wanting to know what employees were taking what insurance policies and so forth, we got an email back from legal saying there was certain information we couldn't give out. So let's just say that the town administrator is a one person. If the public is not entitled to see which health plan or what family coverage versus, you're gonna be hard pressed to put those in individual lines when you have such small amount of staff.
Yeah,
So that's what I was
that-
kind of whispering, I'm trying to figure out that fine line.
I hear you.
So if either, because do you know what I mean?
But no, because see, you're not separating out the individual, you're separating the department.
So the town administrator's department
So-
is one line, has no staff under it.
But it should be the administrative staff. It should be one
But
line.
that's not how the budget, because remember, when we went over,
Change that.
Well, wait a minute.
when we went over assistant,
We have a municipal budget.
Right.
It includes all the staff in this building.
correct,
And the salary lines are drawn up by those various departments, right? Mm-hmm. But the benefit line could quite easily be just carried at a municipal level for all of those departments.
which is how it is now, other than the fire
So,
department.
so I think that's fine. It's not gonna single out, if you've
Right.
got a one-person department, it's not gonna single out what their healthcare
Right, the
cost is.
current way it does not, but if we're separate, I'm just trying to understand, David, you know what I mean? If we separate it out, how we're not gonna,
I think we're talking about separating out so that each department.
Just the department,
Not like sub-departments, the transfer station, the fire.
you're calling municipal management a department,
Yeah.
not the individual
Yeah,
departments.
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that would mean then we would just take the transfer station out of municipal management.
That's right, put it over there.
Okay, so fire department benefits stay there, transfer station benefits stay there, municipal management benefits stay here.
Yes.
That makes more sense. So
Is
that means we
what
have to take all that out.
Kim, is that what we,
Transfer sta-
are we on the same page?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So just to clarify, so all of those the numbers that she's going over now and the transfer station that we're gonna be going over, we're gonna move the insurance, everything,
Everything in that employee benefit line.
Longevity.
Yeah.
all of those benefits in the transfer station are gonna now go into the transfer station department.
Are you clear on that, Kelly?
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was.
Where are we?
So we're at workers' comp, so the question is, are we using this 11.4?
Workers' comp, okay, yeah.
Which is, last year we budgeted 15.4. We spent 73% and we think it's going down to 11.4.
Well, because we get credits for when we don't have incidents, so we must have had a good year, that's why our rate went down. When it was
I
15,000.
would not bank on any credit.
Right, I wouldn't take anything away, just because they say that with our
I mean, it's great when
credit.
you get
it's
them.
gonna fall, yeah.
You know.
I
They
wouldn't,
they can
So we'll
also
leave-
go up 10% tomorrow morning.
All right, so we're gonna leave that alone?
I would, given what you've just
Yeah.
described, I would not count on credits.
right.
All right, so the health insurance, we're gonna have to get back to because now we're taking all the transfer station out.
Yeah.
Employee benefits, what's in, 50260?
502,
60,
16, you say?
60,
60.
the employee
What is
benefits.
that? Oh, that must be,
I'm gonna guess that's, vacation buyouts, longevity,
it's gotta be everything else, yeah.
all the
Yeah, that's where we put all that stuff.
So you only spent 41,000. Have you calculated next year who's gonna be eligible for what?
Not yet, no.
So for all of the employees, Kelly, you have, you calculate benefits for each employee that make up these budget lines?
Well, for that specific line, that's the longevity. There's very few people that will have
And that's
that.
individual specific. 'cause
It's
only
vacation
certain people
buyouts, and I
getting
just
that.
haven't run I'm gonna run a higher date report, and then I'll
Okay.
age it 5 years and see who's gonna qualify this year for the vacation buyout.
Good.
Makes sense.
All
And
right.
then we can notify the department head that they have an employee that,
So at the end of the day, whatever number goes in here, you'll have a schedule based on what you think the eligibility is
Right.
for each person that ought to be covered in this line.
right, I just have not done it yet.
No, and that's fine,
Yeah.
but that's what will happen.
And there's
That's-
always
that's
gonna be
fine.
some money left over there because the policy indicates that you can cash out up to X amount of weeks of vacation if you've been here for so long. And you don't know that all employees are eligible will actually do that. Some will use it. So there's always gonna be extra there.
If they're, does that ability to carry over roll forward?
Well, you're allowed to cash out X amount of weeks and you're allowed to roll over 1 week.
Okay, the rollover, we're otherwise accruing for someplace as compensated absences. Someplace that comes in, maybe it's an audit adjustment, but that comes in, we're expensing that already.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, if I think of my assistant, if I budget her on 40 hours a week times 52 weeks, if she takes a week of PTO time, that's part of that 40 times 52. I'm putting her vacation above that.
It is. Well, we can take this offline, but I think there's an audit. When I looked at the audited statements, there's a line for what they call compensated absences, which is the extent to which employees have vested benefits that have not been paid, but they're entitled to receive, you've got to book that as an expense.
Right, and that's an audited expense. I did that for the auditors this year.
You did.
I went through and I figured out how much each employee had of vacation benefits at
Yeah.
6/30/22. And then I calculated it by their hourly wage, and then I gave them a
So that
spreadsheet.
that hasn't been reflected in these actuals because you do that at the end of the year when the auditor is preparing the financials,
When the
right?
auditor was
So
here,
that
right.
may be a reason why this line is not trending in a direction you'd think it should. Make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, so we'll work on that line too, the benefit line. All right, so I think we're good, Tom, if you want to jump back.
All right,
to
so
where we
we're on
were.
the second page here. Where were we again?
We were-
Elections, yeah, that's,
All right.
50140.
Yes, so this is my department, the labor, let me just follow along here. So we are at, we've spent 55% of the labor, I mean, depending on, a school budget, possibly a town budget, I mean, a special town meeting, and then the annual, so that line's fine. It'll be fine.
I'm having a hard time here. I see this says 50140 on these budget sheets,
Yes, sir.
and I'm trying to find it on the expense
See where it
summaries.
says 07 elections?
Yeah, with two down.
Are you on page 2?
Yeah,
07
the top.
election.
Here somewhere. Elections.
oh, okay, thank you, all right.
So there's my salary line there for
Yeah.
that's for the people that work. We did have an increase in minimum wage, but I've calculated out, I still think that'll be fine.
Oh, I got it, okay. Now I got it. And the benefits are just gonna follow?
Miscellaneous, I did go up $500, the postings, the newspapers. One of the few benefits, we pay these people minimum wage, I do feed them lunch and dinner.
Good.
And, so,
You should,
thank you.
yeah.
So, they enjoy it.
Register of voters,
So register of voters, we flatlined everything.
and that's all gonna work okay?
That's fine. There's no need for an increase on that one.
Finance treasury, salary,
Okay, so this is, based on, her current rate, times 40 hours, times with the 5% increase that you guys,
Yeah,
recommended. Office supplies, equipments, it's all staying the same. We did increase the training.
Yeah.
You'll see that by $800. Dues and memberships, we'd like to get her signed up to a couple of new, organizations, and mileage, I mean, the price of, the mileage has gone up and the amount of miles going back and forth to the bank 3 times a week.
I just feel the need to say something here. I think we said it at the beginning. We're plugging 5% in, but I think until we see this budget all
Right.
put together, you know, that's a very fluid, number.
Absolutely.
And we have to see how the budget comes together.
Well, that's why we were
what
saying
the overall increase is.
something
and-
to put in there.
Yeah, and so it's a placeholder at this time.
Absolutely.
It's probably a good one, but,
We can adjust
you know,
it.
for people out in TV land, this may, this is subject to change. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So mileage and tolls, the next is the town administrator line. This is, remember, town administrator,
Yeah.
town clerk, tax collector.
Yeah.
Salaries, 5%.
Yeah.
There are no increases. Tax bills went up a couple $100 because the postage keeps going up. And I offset that $200 by lowering the mileage and tolls, because I don't go far. I mean, short of, you know, training, I don't.
Is
usually
this
put in-
enough for tax bills?
Yes.
It must be, because you've covered them all now for the year?
Yes.
Okay,
We
great.
don't send second bills out.
Yep. All right. On to assessments, maybe?
Yep, this is where we pay our, O'Donnell's and Associates for their assessing that they do on your behalf as assessors. This is, subcontractor and contractor is your Maps Online contract that you just signed. All of the, online services.
So is this like the annual maintenance cost of
30,000,
that?
yes.
Because we also have a reserve line for, do we not?
Well, we're paying for the reval.
The reval that's going on?
That's completely different.
That's separate,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I can tell you, just to bore you with the details, I talked to Dennis probably 4 or 5 times today. Every time, you know, somebody has an issue with their property, you guys are elected as selectmen assessors.
Yeah.
They're your people that are handling every one of those, every time there's a land issue, so.
We appreciate
That's a
that.
great price for
Yes.
all the services we get.
I would think so. Okay.
All right, next department is land use. The department head has a 3% increase. The clerical, you can see almost a 12,000,
Hold on. Have I went from,
sorry.
oh yeah, there, I turned the page too quick. Got it.
So the land use, department head has the 5% increase. Clerical has a $12,000 increase because remember, we could not fill the land use position. We finally got it to an hourly rate where it was, someone that was interested in it, so it's that current hourly rate times 5%.
Yep.
Times the 40 hours that that individual is working.
Okay.
FICA Medicaid is based on those.
We knew that was gonna happen when we were doing it.
Yeah.
Office supplies are fine, employee training, dues and memberships. Subcontractor service, the CEO, did want to increase some. He's looking to bring in more of the, services of,
A star.
North Star or Southern Maine Regional Planning.
When you say more, is there an agreement on what the extent of those services will be?
Well, every time somebody comes before the planning board, I mean, the planning board and the code officer can decide if they're gonna bring them in and have them, you know, do the whole project with it from the start to finish. They could ask them just to review one thing. Remember that the applicant normally pays for this. This is primarily for things that the planning board and the CEO are doing
We
for
brought
the
it in
town.
before to help run.
Zoning, training.
Training.
Which firm is this? Aren't there two
we
firms?
got-
North Star is the only one that we've used. We've talked to Southern Maine, but they have not moved forward with them yet.
Yeah, Southern Maine Regional, I guess, pretty much does a lot of the stuff for free and this and that, but he wants to roll that route some more than he is the North Star route, but, still,
This may not be the place to bring it up, but in talking with Jason, and maybe it was in our 5 o'clock meeting, I thought it would be useful if we could have the consultant, whoever that is, generally take a look at our zoning and provide comments on, from their perspective, what they see as sort of best practices. To have them take a look at our zoning and sort of work with the planning board to think about whether or not changes might be helpful.
they should be doing that anyways.
I'm not sure that they are, and I'm thinking maybe we could
Might help them.
encourage them to, maybe engage them to come in and actually look at it, and,
I think that's what he's trying to accomplish with this, is bringing in,
Okay.
that's
I
why
think
he
help
wants to
them
bring
run the
Ron.
meetings
Yeah,
better.
and David, as long as you have a plan with him, because I've just noticed, so we haven't expended anything out of that $21,000 line going into March.
Yeah.
so how do we go about sort of encouraging that to happen? Is that something you would do as
Yeah.
liaison, David?
Yeah, as a liaison, I'll speak to him and see if we
Do
can.
we all agree that would be a useful
That,
thing to happen?
and I'd also talk to the planning board
Well,
itself.
absolutely. I mean, it's, absolutely, but
Yeah.
I think it would be just good to know that, at least at some level, our zoning ordinances represent a set of what I would call best practices
Yeah.
in the field. Okay.
All right, so next line is advertising and notices. Those are notices he posts. Equipment line, he left the same.
Are you still in land use?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mileage and tolls, I just want to look at his mileage. That can't be right.
He may be over on mileage.
No, he's not, but,
Really?
Miss Aug, see that?
Oh,
That number can't
that's
be right.
odd.
Oh, no, year-to-date net, he's only, that's all he spent in mileage?
Far.
Yeah, we gotta check. Oh, yeah, I see. All right, let's look into it.
Well,
Do you
yeah.
know if he's up to date? If you paid him, like, let's say for
I
January?
saw one in the
think
last warrant.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just paid
It was a couple
one.
$100.
Yeah, maybe that is up to
That
date.
may be right.
I mean, that's a big unexpended balance going into March.
It is.
But he has some trainings coming up that are far away.
Okay.
Isn't he going to Sugarloaf
I don't
or
know.
something, or somewhere up there?
We'll take a look at him.
Is the assistant gonna be on the road at all?
No.
Or is he? in the
As of right now, I don't believe so.
Okay, well, why don't you ask him to take a look at this line, and, given how much has been expended,
talking
maybe
about
that could
mileage
come
and
down.
tolls?
Yeah.
Mileage and tolls.
Yeah, maybe that could come down to 5, given it comfortably what we're seeing so far
Yeah, and let's
today.
see, I mean, sometimes with all of us, we don't, he might not be up to date on what
I
month
agree.
he's last
Well, we
submitted.
haven't, we never, did we ever make an adjustment to the mileage? We never did that.
No, and the animal control was hoping for the same, which we can talk about, we'll put it on an agenda for selectmen.
Okay.
Because the ACO
Because
is
before
running
he
into the
drops
same
that number
issue.
too much, I mean, obviously, it's way, it looks like it's lopsided one way too far, but, we want to take in consideration that the mileage, might have to be increased.
And remember,
What are you talking about? Are you talking about the rate that we give him per mile?
Yeah, like 58 cents a mile, they're talking about. a
they
bump in
talked
that.
at
Yeah.
with the
Yeah, we
price
had
of
talked
gas
about
being as
going
high as it was, that a couple of the department heads came to the board at a meeting and asked them to consider.
They were
I
losing
just
money
want-
going
Right.
to.
Especially the ACO, and the CEO.
It's small dollars, but if you pay them more than that authorized rate, it's taxable income to them.
Really? I didn't know that.
Tell you, Shapley's just moved forward with a car because his mileage and maintenance is getting out of control and they're not. no.
At this level, a
No.
car doesn't make sense.
So, and we'll ask him about that in the subcontractor
Oh, no,
subcontractor
we'll keep-
services.
let him use this rig.
All right, so
Yeah.
that's it, his miscellaneous, and remember, in the supporting documents that you'll take home and look at, there may be more detail on some of these. So this
Okay.
is just the first look,
All
but
right.
Dave and I will talk to him about those.
All right? So,
Next,
off from
Hey.
land use onto,
this is your, health officer. So the question to the board is, are your stipend positions such as health officer, forester, are we looking to do a 5% increase on those, or are they flatlined?
I would think so.
We doubled that line last year.
Doubled it last year, yes, sir?
And, I'd say we stay the same with it.
You wouldn't want to do the 5%?
why do we, no, go ahead.
The health officer, we actually used the health officer a lot,
In COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
She cleared everything. I
Yeah,
mean, we
that
worked
was,
very
very
closely together.
helpful, and, because that was, I don't think we ever had before, that
Yeah.
I know.
So
We've
you
used-
think the line was understated before?
Oh, yeah,
David?
by a
So-
lot.
Yeah,
So
we-
by doubling it, did that get it to, I mean, if you looked at other towns, is it within reason of that? Do we know?
It is in reason, and I can tell you that through the fiscal year, so we're into March, almost into March, we've used her once, and that was the, one that you were pulled in on. We had the conference meeting.
Yes.
That's the only time we've called her this year.
As a general rule, I would think all positions, whether they're stipend or whatever, ought to be eligible for the 5% increase. That would just, be inflation is taking a toll on everyone, but,
We doubled the line last year, because we used that individual a lot during COVID. Now, I think we've only used her like once in the whole time, so I
How
mean,
much is 5% gonna go up?
$150.
You know,
so, I mean, but you do that one, we gotta look at the overall, the forester's the same thing.
I don't know,
So I'm thinking, but our, Dog officer, he's a stipend position, correct?
Yes,
They had
he's
to
put
do
in for a
5% for
3%.
everybody.
Put in for 3%.
He did, he put in for,
Oh, well, I told him to.
oh, okay.
So other
Amy Municipal's
stipend
on the
posi-
phone, so I'm gonna, and Amy Municipal needs to speak to me, I'll be right back.
So
Oh, yeah.
Kelly, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I just want to be fair across the board with
Yeah.
all the stipend positions.
Yeah.
So we've got forester, we got a health officer,
Rec.
we got dog officer, the rec, that's a stipend position. So,
We got the medical services, Robert Brown there, we pay
He's at
him.
the fire.
yeah, that one's different though.
Yeah, he's a contract.
He's contracted.
That's
We
not
got a
stipend.
contract with him, so we don't,
He's not considered
He
stipend.
can come forward and ask for it.
Maybe
No.
we could see how much it's gonna raise.
I mean, that's.
pretty much you can ask for whatever he wants, because he's the only one to put in for it, I guess, but, the state made us do it. So, I guess if you look at the overall picture with all the stipend positions, we know the dog officer, obviously, he's asking for a 3%, we're giving a 5% across the board. I would suggest a 5%. If we're gonna do for one department, we're gonna do it from all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, they're all employees, whether
Yeah.
they're a
Exactly.
stipend or whatever they are, and if we're giving all other employees some rate of increase, I would apply it to all of them.
Yeah, well, that's why I was just, I'm trying to
I'm echoing
justify.
what, I'm just talking to it
But
here.
I gotta justify,
Yeah.
because we doubled that last year, I
I
wanna
don't
make
feel
sure that.
comfortable asking for 5% for us and not for everybody else. That's how I feel, so just, do you know what I mean?
So for-
That's why I just think we should do it across the board for
Yeah,
everybody.
well-
And it may not be 5%, it
So-
might be lower, or.
I was looking at, I look at, like I said, I got justified, but I look at stipend positions a little different than I do employees per se, like, the guy whoever does the dam. We split that out year, is there gonna be an increase in that No, because we split it with another town, whatever,
And
but
it's a contract.
it's a
Contract
yeah.
also.
So, but no, I agree at this point. Why don't we do it at the 5 for now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what
Apply it at
happens.
5 and we'll have more discussions about this and we'll see where it goes. I think there's merit to doing that.
Yeah.
I already put the rec in when we get there. I
Yeah.
already put her up the 5%. But that's the only stipend position that I did that with, because I didn't know at the time
No,
that they were considered a little bit different.
So just apply it to them all and we can, in our second read
Well,
of
I
this, we
think
can.
we were confused too, so.
Yeah. Okay, so are we down to public safety?
Health and welfare, general assistance,
Oh,
3,000?
general assistance, oh.
And that line item, I don't believe we've expended anything out of that line item this year.
Jennifer, we're on general
General
assistance?
Yeah, we haven't expended
Yeah,
anything
you
out
can
of
cut
that
that
line.
in half.
You think so?
I do.
Can you describe how that line's used?
So, general assistance, remember every year we have the public hearing and we sign an ordinance to accept the state values on how many people can be in the household, what their income can be, how much fuel assistance they're eligible for, housing assistance, how much food allocation they can get. Based on the table that they provide and we adopt, it is very difficult for the average family to get general assistance on those numbers and live in Acton. I mean, it's just a higher,
Are we
We-
held to that, or, I mean, can
Yes.
we change it, we can't?
No, you
Okay,
can't change
that's what I
those
wanted to
numbers, they're
know. All
adopted
right.
by the state.
All
You
right.
have a public hearing every year.
Every town and municipality.
Every town uses the same, and they base it on York County, on Cumberland County, so,
So, yeah.
I mean, we are very lucky in the town of Acton to have neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah.
Because, we're gonna pick on somebody, we'll pick on David, I mean, David,
First line of support is,
it is, so you have somebody that's not gonna qualify for general assistance, but runs into a one-time situation, we don't even go through the general assistance, we pay it out of neighbors helping neighbors and
That's great.
no questions asked. We haven't had a general assistance application in probably 5-8 years,
Okay.
if not longer.
We cut that down to 15, but we shouldn't delete the line.
Oh, you can't delete the line. You have to legally, as you'll notice on the signs on the doors and on the front of the website, you have to have general assistance available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
and so if it runs over, we have the ability to cover that.
General
other line.
assistance and plowing are the only lines that you're allowed to,
15%.
you can legally overdraft them.
By what,
Well,
15?
the roads, you can go 15% on.
General assistance, you
Wintertime
can
stuff.
Okay,
withdraw.
fine, all right, then,
I don't know the other.
let's drop it down and,
What did,
move
just so
on.
I know, what did you give 5% on the health officer? Is that what they decided?
We did it on all stipends.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next line is the police and sheriff. This is a contracted amount, so this is what it is.
Have we had any more discussions with towns about this?
We haven't at this point. This is something we talked about, Mr., what's his name over in Shapley, Cody.
Cudworth. Oh, Cody, yep.
Cody and
That's
I
right, he
were,
was gonna do some,
we're gonna get together.
They're looking to get through their March election, and they did mention, getting together and starting to work on this.
Okay.
But for this purpose of this budget, that number is
What
set
kind
in
of an
stone.
increase have we got here?
Well, looks like, we figured that's half, so it went up about 3,000.
No, I mean, you look at the current versus request, for this overall line, what's the total? Is there a total on these things?
Well, 71,972. That's this year, that's your half. Last year it was
Why am I
68,000.
not seeing that, Jennifer?
Are you on page 6? It doesn't look like it.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not on the right page.
So,
That's
I wanna
why.
clarify, this
Oh, I
was
see.
last year's. I know-
68,000
Yeah.
is the
I
current
knew it
year
was
we're in.
71 something.
71,900 is
That's the
the upcoming, yep.
Okay.
Kelly got the,
For
bill.
upcoming, what period is that?
That's gonna cover from July 1 of '23
So,
through,
And the contract expires in December of 23?
so it'll take us through, right?
So this covers that rate for the full year at that first 6-month rate?
correct.
That seems like it's light.
Well, it's half, because Shapley pays the other half.
No, I meant, but even our half. If you're building this budget for the 12-month ending, June of '24, based on the rate that we're paying through December of '23, we're likely to get an increase in that rate in January of '24.
Well, we're not expecting to have a contract in January '24 because it was a 3-year contract and they
only
knocked
got
it down to
1 year.
1, so we're not planning on any more after December 31st.
But they haven't really said that.
Well,
They
I
did
mean,
say a 1-year contract, but
I mean, at this point.
Didn't they say enough when they knocked it from 3 to 1?
I don't think budgeting ahead.
I'm sorry.
For an unknown, that's what we'd be doing.
Yeah.
Do you think we should at least have the money there in case
Yeah.
we do need those services? If
We would have
don't,
to have a
then we-
special town meeting to authorize another contract anyway, so you could appropriate the money then.
okay.
All right, that makes
You know,
sense.
you only got the authority to empty into the contract, right? So,
All right,
Well, do
looking
you
at-
want to drop this line?
bill's in
So it
the-
only covers cost
in
through
this
December?
backup.
so just so you know, I'm looking, oh, the bill, Kelly says the bill is in your backup line. And it covers the period of 7/1 of '23, they've got it through 6/30 of '24.
oh, really?
The salaries, so I don't know if she's taken into
Yeah, and there's a
consideration.
breakdown in the
What are you
backup.
looking at there, Jennifer?
The bill, which is in your
Is it in this one?
supporting documents.
Did you say 7/1 of,
It says
24?
It
Six.
says 7/1 of '23 to 6/30 of '24.
but the contract only goes through
December.
12 of '23.
Right. This is from the finance department, so.
But if you're gonna have to have a town meeting to approve a new contract, probably in November, or sometime in the fall, right?
Yeah, I have to look at how that's going.
And you would appropriate money at that time.
You find it?
Would you wanna drop this back to just cover
Find it?
Not yet.
public
I'm sure it's
safety
in here.
through?
It's in order.
I'm not sure that that number, even though she put 6/30, are you thinking there's an extra 6 months in this?
I don't know, it
Yeah.
sounds like what you're reading there is, and the number itself is a 12-month number. If it's 70,000, that's 12 months.
Yeah, because the salary on that document is 80,000 for the annual salary.
Right.
Yeah, plus
And
all
then
their add-ons.
plus all the other
brings it up
stuff,
to 140,000.
Yeah.
Let's table that one until the next meeting, I'll get some more information on it.
All right.
So we'll star that one and figure out what's going on.
All right,
Now, the next line is fire and rescue, so I'm not here to speak on behalf of the fire department or any of the departments I should have announced on the beginning. I'm gonna tell you what the increases are. You guys decide if you wanna bring these department heads in. So I'm just gonna give you a quick overview, because I don't know all of the lines,
Okay.
but I can tell you what's included in here. So the department head is the 5% increase. He has added 1 extra position, and he has, decreased his per diem sum, about $17,000. But the new position is, what is that, about 90,000 more?
Yeah, it's
give or
about
take.
it's like 85.
Is that with the benefits or just the raw
No,
salary?
just the person. So what he has to do is, he takes the schedule, and he never knows if he's gonna get a basic, an EMT, or an advanced. So when he's doing his budget, he takes the highest level and assumes that both people on duty are always the highest level and multiplies it out in an effort to be safe. So he's got the extra position in there. The only other increases, if you go down through it, he is looking for 3 more, suits. And I'm sorry, Wayne, for not using the right term, but 3 more gears. His, fuel line is going up based on the cost of fuel. And that was it, wasn't it, Kelly?
What's in there for salary increases for the, staff, if you will, the fire?
$2.50. Everybody but the fire chief is $2.50 to follow up from last year's
Has he provided
conversation.
salary survey data?
No, I spoke to him just the other day, as
We're gonna have to break.
This is something that
as
we,
you indicated, and he is working on it. He asked,
Okay, so I want to hear more about this added position.
I wanna see where it helps with the added position, whether or not that's gonna get rid of some of the overtime and some of the,
Yeah.
per diem.
He offered up some credits on the per diem, but nothing on the overtime?
yeah, and the stipend went up, the stipends went up about 10,000, so we need to bring him in. I mean, he's clearly one of the highest
And I think
budgets.
compensation is the area that we want to focus on. Is that right? Because the other increases, they were for suits. After talking to him, I don't know how we don't do this.
You mean the increases on the per diem, on the, basics, the paramedics and the EMTs?
I'm interested in understanding the compensation side of the fire department.
Sure, of course.
I think the,
That's what soaks up most of the budget.
yeah, the fact that he's asking money for, new fire suits, and I'm not using the right term, the way he described it,
Here.
those are desperately needed.
Yes.
And, I think we ought to have
I don't
ongoing
think
renewal of
we've
that.
ever had an issue with the equipment they're buying. They usually sell.
they get 3 or
sell
4 a year.
themselves.
But this is new, it's an increase, isn't it?
Well, it is, they try to, because he's bringing on new people, and he's bringing
And
on
that's
per
fine.
diem,
I
so.
think it.
And also, just on his behalf, Wayne, he has a 2-page letter that is accompanying his budget that explains why he wanted increases
I
in
think I
each
read
line.
that. I
It's
did
well
see
put, yeah,
that.
but
Yeah, it
he
was
did a
well
nice
done.
job.
So we should set up a
Meeting with
time
him.
with the fire chief?
Definitely.
Yep.
And I think the focus ought to be comp.
Okay.
And hopefully he's got his salary survey data, because
Yes.
I know he talked about 250, but I'd love to see comparables for other towns and understand where we
See
stand.
if he can get the similar towns as us in the area. No, we don't need Cape Elizabeth.
Well, no,
No,
he came
no.
in and I gave him a list of towns, we found all of the
Okay,
towns in York County, and
Yeah.
he's working on it, so, and we'll schedule, a
And that
workshop for
will
that.
be,
Not saying that he was gonna do that. I'm just.
No, right, in the
Don't
past.
waste our time with stuff like that. That we want something that we can work with, yeah.
And him and I talked about that as well, so he's aware of what towns.
I gotta tell you, if he had a list of people that he's lost, I don't need the names, but if he had a list of the number of people that he's lost, and if he knew where they went, and
Well-
whether
Well,
they
that's-
went for
that's-
salary, I think that's worth knowing.
The ones that you lost though, because the problem is you're talking about per diems. Okay, these per diems bounce from one firehouse to another firehouse to another firehouse. We got some of those per diems working 3 different firehouses. So it's kinda hard, they're kinda like mercenaries.
Yeah.
They come in when you need them.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and some of them stay on more than others, but that would be kinda hard to build a chart.
So,
try to
so it's
figure
not
that out.
permanent, regular, full-time staff they're losing, it's more of these.
Yeah.
These temps.
I mean, Wayne mentioned to me that the city of Sanford is looking for several different, several firefighters right now, or EMTs and basics. I mean, the per diem, sometimes, they do several towns, they like that per diem shift, I mean, you know what I mean? They don't wanna be full-time employees.
Well, they can make more
in these
money
towns,
doing it,
right.
because they can bounce
You
around
can
from one to
pick and
another, they can do
choose.
24 hours.
Right. All right, so we'll schedule him to come in, because
Okay.
he knows it's a very extensive, budget.
Okay.
So the top line on page 7 is part of the fire rescue, so we're just gonna skip that and let him present his budget. Street lights, always the big conversation.
Where are these?
where's the street?
David, tell
Is this
Tom
the one
where
out front,
streetlights
or-
are.
Well,
No, I
I know I got one at Denver Winchell Lane,
Okay, all right.
and we weren't supposed to be paying for it, I saw a bill for it, I was confused.
So, we're at 60%. That, like electricity, we'll check on.
Okay.
Animal control is, the 5% increase.
All right, now where am I seeing that?
So right down, so
Oh,
you're
I
at
see it,
streetlights,
yeah.
yep.
So it's 501-13.
So you've got the 5% increase, FICA, Medicaid, kennel fees, the contract did go up, about 50 cents, so we calculated based on the new contract. The phone, there was a slight increase from Verizon. Miscellaneous and, mileage, he is keeping the same, and if you look at his percentages, he's right where he needs to be. He's got, half of his miscellaneous left, but he has since been in to choose his, remember he bought a, drone?
Yeah.
And now he's buying a large animal, looks like my son's gonna kill me for not saying this right, but it basically goes underneath a horse or a cow and it picks them up, you know, with a tractor
Sling.
forks.
A sling.
Sling, looks like a big old sling.
Okay.
There's a lot of horse issues in Acton.
So, horse issues like what? What are they?
Like they'll go down, they get lost, they get stuck, they get
Oh,
hurt.
I see, okay.
So you need a sling.
They need a sling to pull it up, you can't, you know, it's
Yeah.
a tough animal to get up.
Yeah,
So-
okay,
So his budget is pretty much flatlined other than
all
that.
right.
Communications, is that the one? Yep, okay. So dispatch, we've reached out, we haven't gotten an answer yet on updated rates, but based on, what we're paying now, which is about $6,200 every quarter, that 24/7 will be good, we're waiting to hear from them.
They're at 75% already?
Right.
There's
so they
something else going on there?
No, they should have just one more payment.
Just one more payment? Okay, all right,
Because we paid them 3 already?
I believe so, yeah.
I think so.
all right.
July's coming quick.
EMA, when does that lease end, David? This is your,
Coming up,
we need to look at that Blueberry Hill lease.
yeah.
David,
Is that something
tell
we
Tom
still
what that's
need?
all about. Well, they're gonna wanna
Oh,
renew
yeah,
it.
so, we've got a tower up on Blueberry Hill,
Okay,
and that's.
Private property.
That's private property, the Ham,
Yeah.
what's her name? Mrs.
okay.
Ham.
Yeah,
owns
we
it.
lease the
We
land?
end up leasing the land. Other than that, we're gonna have to move the tower.
Yeah,
And, we're not the only ones that use that tower, that radio, I believe.
okay,
But we lease it for, what's it, $7,000 a year?
It's not the, it's not the right.
Budget.
What it was.
400.
But we're talking about, there was talk about possibly moving it to another location, to a better location, because what happens is, like, the road commissioners, we all have radios, you get
think
certain
so.
spots in town,
You guys
they
are
wouldn't
all
work.
I see.
So, but I haven't really heard a whole lot of chatter. The fire department will really lead that, because they're the ones that use the radio more than anybody. So, but we ought to look in and see how long that lease is.
It's coming up.
I believe we gotta be a year or 2 here out of that.
Yeah, and we're not, as we look at this, we're not positive that's where the 400 is being paid out of. We may come across it, but I did print off the current, and we're paying a repeater lease of $125 once a month to, Southern Maine.
That's, yeah,
So, that number should stay the same.
lease. EMA lease.
So we have an active lease, the budget line is appropriately stated to cover the cost of that lease?
Yes, everything.
It's gonna come up for renewal and.
I feel like it's 24.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got a year left on it.
Yeah.
It's
We're all
not
set.
through June.
So we gotta look in to make sure that,
Okay,
we will probably wanna get the ball rolling on it, whether or not we're gonna continue the lease or we're gonna move on to a different spot.
That's my list, okay. And
Something to talk to the
miscellaneous,
fire chief about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wanna talk to him?
see what he wants to do?
Yeah.
I added it to the list.
there are, stupid question, but there are other telecommunication towers here in town. There's one.
Yeah, you got the cell phone ones.
Can you not hang the communication equipment off that and lease it from them?
Don't know.
Rather
Something
than
to look
putting up
into.
our own pole?
A good
I would
question for
think,
the
I would
fire
have
chief.
thought the fire department would have been all over that if we could have, but,
I don't know.
Find it.
they may.
Okay,
In the miscellaneous, I'm gonna honestly have to, I don't know what's being paid out of that line, so.
right.
How do you know? We've spent, that might be the 400, because we've paid out 2,800, that's a round amount,
Yeah,
yeah,
could be.
so we'll double check on that one.
okay.
Next is emergency management, this is, Rick, who is your EMA director. So this is a flat line budget other than the 5%.
Okay,
Flip that over.
good.
That next page just gives you a total of the public safety budget, what it was and what it's proposed, so we'll skip over that.
Yeah,
Now, the roads, similar to the fire department, there are several pages. Obviously, you're gonna wanna meet with them. They've got quite a few, they've got some increases in there. They're looking for their 250,000 with regular paving, and then they're both looking for an additional 250,000. They've got some rate increases.
for each district?
Yes. They've got some rate increases, so really, instead of us spending the time to go through them, I'd recommend we just schedule a meeting with them, let them explain it to you.
Okay.
We'll do that with the fire and rescue, if that's okay?
Yeah,
And give you a chance to look at the supporting documents, because they did put some stuff in there.
okay, good, good. Are those in this
Will went
package?
down in his,
I was gonna say, Will says
Will's went down in
192, right?
paving, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he
Will
told
went
me
down
that
in
he
paving. I
did.
don't think he's doing the extra 250 either.
Oh, he changed.
I didn't see it.
He changed his mind, okay.
I didn't
My
see it.
mistake.
He explained to me that he was
Thank you.
gonna do the regular 250, and then the additional 250, he wasn't gonna need the entire 250, that he was gonna be less than that. 'Cause I'm trying to get them to, restructure the way they do it.
Okay.
Because when they come in and ask for $500,000 extra in monies,
Yeah, you had a good idea about the warrant article.
so, the problem is, and anybody that's ever done a budget in the town of Acton, or has been on this side of it and the other side of it, such as I have, whenever you ask for, say, we'll use $100,000, I want an extra 100,000 in my budget. You throw it in the budget and it stays there. And then the next year, it's gonna be 100, you know.
It rolls over.
It's gonna keep rolling over every year. You can't go in and just pull that 100 away and say, well, that was only a one-year deal. So, my idea was, leave them the 250 apiece, and then, you know, and we're gonna want an itemized, not itemized, but we want project where you're gonna spend that 250 on the regular 250 we already put in, but put in for the extra 250 I want to put it in as a special project. That way there, we can vote those articles separately, so it doesn't get included into the paving line, so it carries over every year. Because you're increasing the budget line $500,000.
You know, one way of doing that, especially where we have undesignated reserves, is fund it out of undesignated reserves, so it doesn't get baked into their baseline budget.
If you do it the way that I'm talking about, whatever they spend, so say they got their 250,
Yeah.
okay? Their 250, if they don't spend all their 250 on a project, that gets rolled over into reserves. The other monies that they're asking extra, if they don't spend that, that would roll back into general, into our undesignated fund. Because I would hate to throw an extra $500,000 out there and then it not even get spent.
Now, you know, we may hear from the road agents why they need this money, but I think they need to do an assessment of the roads, and we've talked about this.
Yeah.
That, given the amount of money this used to be a $100,000 line item,
Yeah,
not too
when I was
long
road
ago.
commissioner, it was 99,000.
It's now 250, and we're now talking about 500. And
Went
that's.
up 100 last year.
Yeah, I know, I may not have the numbers right, but it's been growing significantly. Now we're talking about another doubling, going from $500,000 in total to $1 million or something, something in that matter. I think we need an assessment, and I think the state will do this. They'll come in and assess our roads and help us to develop a plan, and we can actually put it in that software we bought, so that we have, we're able to use the software, which I don't think right now we actually.
We're not using it.
We're not using that as a planning tool. It's more of an accounting tool,
We're not using it
keeping
all.
track of what we've done. And if we have a baseline assessment from, you know, an outside party like the state saying, these are the roads that need to be done over a period of years. These need to be ground, these need to, maybe they can be patched, or maybe they need to be resurfaced. They can help, kind of lay that all out for us. And then we got a roadmap, no pun intended, for maintenance of our roads.
And that's fine and dandy, that's a great idea, that's not gonna help us this year.
I understand.
So,
Well-
I think we ought to be working towards that. The road commissioner is supposed to have a 5-year plan, I remember everybody pushing that.
Well, yeah, in the ordinance.
In the ordinance, yeah.
Talks about.
But at this point in time, because of what they're coming in, I just wanna separate the paving money they already get from what they want. And I want, that way there, they can explain in a town meeting where this money is going, exactly what this extra money's for. Then we're just not clumping money in, and, because the problem we've had is in past, a lot of that money doesn't get spent, we keep rolling over into reserves. And, you know, one thing that it was like a motto of mine, was like my general maintenance money. If you don't spend it, don't ask for more. You go out, you use that money, you don't wanna roll it over, and what ended up happening was, I didn't do this, but it ended up, there was accounts that were getting rolled over, 30, 40, 50% of their budget was getting rolled over. It looked bad. We don't want that.
And if you look at surrounding towns, Tom, because I know you're, like the data, you'll find that, you know, a lot of the surrounding towns do put the warrant articles on there, you know, to see if the town will raise and appropriate X amount for, you know, repairing Walnut Hill Road, because it gives the taxpayers too a sense of, you know, where, so once you get the assessment done, I think that it's a good idea to individualize them.
All I'm saying is I think we need that baseline
Do we have a-
assessment.
I just want,
Let's look into a number, what does it cost?
do the.
I'm sorry.
Oops, sorry about that.
I was gonna say, why don't we, you know, get a number, we're gonna do both at the same time, because we've
Yeah.
gotta move forward with the budget, but let's call in, Tom, and see what kind of number it would be to.
Yeah.
come down
Well, the
and talk to you
assessment,
guys.
I think, at the end of the day, the assessment is, you know, like myself, back when I was road commissioner, I guess I should have said, yeah, we'll do that, because maybe I could have gotten 250,000 in payments of 99.
I gotta tell you, we may need that much money. I don't really know.
Oh, no,
It-
but we want to make sure that the money's going in the places where it's needed.
Needed, yes.
More than
It's used
places
for
that's already being redone and redone and redone.
That's right.
We know that one side definitely needs more work than the other.
That's why I figured by doing the 250, like they normally do, they can decide where they're gonna put that on their own.
Yeah.
And then the other 250 or whatever they decide to put in for, don't have to be 250, hopefully less. They can do that as a special project for that project, and whatever money is gonna go back in undesignated fund. I just don't wanna be rolling all this money in reserves just because.
And in the backup, you'll see that Adam did put in a special request. It's 3 pages, very detailed,
Yeah.
what roads, paving,
Did well?
estimated maintenance cost, estimated paving
Yeah.
by road.
Okay, well,
So so when you look in the backup, that's there for your viewing pleasure.
He's asking if the other road commissioner did that?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
okay.
All right, so we'll just,
Definitely want a meeting with them.
yep, I got it with the fire department. So page 9 is all just, road commissioners, so we'll skip over that.
Yeah.
Same with page 10.
And,
So it brings us to the bottom of page 11, which is the transfer station.
yeah,
The transfer station wages, Kelly has worked with, the superintendent to get the department head and the laborer rates, those have the 5%. There's a lot of shifting of, funds here. And Tom, I don't know if you wanna talk more about this, or if this may be another department that you may wanna bring in. But really, we've just tried to clean it up on where we're actually paying it out of. I don't
Okay.
think the bottom line, do we have bottom line total on these?
No, because it's gonna include the entire department.
Okay, plus we need to move health insurance.
I think
Over.
and it's not in here, I assume, but, Robin had a number of capital items that he wanted to.
That's not on here.
No, I understand that, but I think we should have a meeting with the transfer station. Let's go through those capital items to understand what he wants to do, and we can also review then this.
Okay.
All right, but, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so it's that. 13, the conservation department, the conservation hasn't asked for money. They didn't ask for any last year, so,
Is that,
top of page 13, which is 50782, 106.
Page 13, you said?
Where are we at?
Conservation.
50782 conservation, correct?
Okay, yep.
Where are they at?
Zero.
Is a zero budget here.
Yeah, they didn't ask for any money last year, so.
Okay.
I mean, we just haven't deleted the line from Trio, so.
Have we asked them if they, have they been
Everybody got the
asked?
same memo and same email.
Okay, so we'll leave it as it is, I
They
guess.
didn't get any last year, so I'm not gonna,
Planning, development,
Right.
forestry.
forester, this is a forester position, so,
It's a
this is last year was 500, we increased it to 1,000. You've got the updated job description that you need to look at. It may border on the line of personnel before we get too far into it, as far as, the direction that you may or may not go, where all of the, I know a big part of the conversation is that the timber harvesting has all been removed from the ordinance. What do you want this individual to do? How does it affect if we cut a piece of property? So there's a lot of discussions around this one.
And I also need the description, job description for this position for our workers' comp audit. They've asked me for it.
Yeah.
So I have-
We haven't accepted that yet.
No, I haven't, right, so I have it on
Yeah,
next
I'm
week's
just
agenda because you
mentioning.
have two speakers coming tonight.
Yeah.
So I have us dealing with it next week.
That sounds good. They can wait a week, right? Where it was going.
It'll be fine. We
And is
have
this a
one.
contractor position or a stipend position?
He's,
It's a
a-
stipend
Stipend.
position. Well,
So he'll get the 5%.
he's an employee. Yeah,
I'll get the 5%.
Yeah.
He's paid as an employee?
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And he's not contracted, it's an employee.
I got to 1,070,
I don't know.
not just 1,000.
I'll look.
1,052.
Huh?
Oh, nope, wrong line, sorry. Thinking too hard.
Oh, so you got 535.
Okay,
So for now, we'll add the 5% and wait until it gets on a board agenda.
planning, development, forestry, county tax.
County tax, we did a 5% increase.
5%.
This is a number that we don't have yet, so right now it's in there with a 5% increase.
We typically give that number. It's right before.
It's around August,
Yeah.
but county tax, remember, is one of the few that doesn't have to actually go on the warrant, because you're obligated to pay it.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't it the last article in the book?
No, it hasn't been in a warrant article, it hasn't been in the warrant for the last couple of years.
Okay. I guess
Shell
I'm
found a
thinking about
statute
it
and we
again.
checked with legal. Cemeteries, on top of page 16, they're asking for the same 3,000. They will have a special article as well, like Tom mentioned with the transfer station. They're looking to replenish some of their tree cutting line.
Okay.
They're working on that, so we have that somewhere.
Yeah, they're asking for an additional 10,000 in
So why don't?
tree cutting. And
why-
it's in the,
Yeah, but why don't they just add it? Why are they?
Because they have a special account, it's never been as part of their budget.
okay, yep.
They have an account that rolls over if they don't do it.
Why did they have that?
That's just how it's always been set up, I mean.
So it was voted by the town to do that?
Well, I mean, I can't answer that, I have to go back, but it's always been its own separate line just for maintenance.
So,
I mean, this line is supposed to be to maintain the veteran cemeteries, so you'd have to change the wording of it,
okay. I
because
guess
they may
I'm-
not be cutting.
I guess.
They may not be cutting it,
fine,
just
I'll move
veterans.
on. I don't wanna step into that, so. Okay,
All right, so your next line, donations, we have, Kelly has inputted the ones that you have in front of you. We do have lots of brochures and flyers and stuff to share with you from all these different social services.
They dig.
so they responded well?
Yeah, a lot of them did, some did, some didn't, so,
Who didn't?
well, the ones that
Red
don't have
Cross.
lines, don't have numbers beside them.
Oh,
York County
okay.
Shelter didn't get ahold of us?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, York County Shelter, which is odd, caring, unlimited sexual assault.
Yeah, that's-
Balch
Balch
Lake.
Lake
Well, I
didn't
have-
ask for anything?
Balch Lake.
I have a
Yeah, they
couple
did.
that
Mostly
need to be
got the
updated, I
2,000.
wasn't
Oh, okay.
sure. So
I can't
there's a-
imagine they didn't ask for
Right
you.
here. There.
Well, but it's zero, isn't it?
It's zero.
It's 2,000.
No,
No.
that was,
That was the current
Current.
budget. The request.
the wrong one.
No, the request is zero, there's nothing in the
Nothing on it,
request
yeah.
on
I only updated the ones that I
You
physically
see that?
have.
There's nothing there, so they didn't
Oh,
request
yeah,
anything.
okay, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Let us double check that, I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like, I thought I saw something from Balch Lake, but maybe I didn't forward it to you, we'll look.
All I
Most
know is,
people were good about-
I would like to have,
wow.
I wanna make sure that this year, that Gila or whatever, that Great East Lake actually has some information for us.
Yep, we have the packets,
Oh, good.
with Monday being a
These are
holiday.
all individual warrants, right?
They have been, yes.
And, is there any reason why these can't be combined into one warrant?
Yes.
Yes.
We used to do that.
So we,
Okay. Of course there is.
Every few years we change.
I mean, not to say you can't change, Tom, but just to give you a quick history, so we used to have them all in one warrant article, okay, all the way listed out. And we had them, there was a warrant article and someone made a motion to move, let's just take the top one, all of York County's money and appropriate it to, the Trafton Center.
Yeah.
They took all the funds away from one and went to the other. The moderator allowed it, May Municipal reviewed it, and it just wasn't clean the way that the motions were done, and
Okay.
they didn't recommend it.
I'm just trying to get the number of warrants
Wasn't it
down.
also-
Warrant articles down?
Yes, that's all. It's, you know, it's a long day and we worry about people not showing up.
Right.
I think that's part of it.
There's no reason why you can't have them all in there, okay? But the moderator's just gonna do his job and say you can't do that,
Yeah.
right? So, and obviously, you know, we've had other issues with stuff that we
Right.
back and forth with the, whether or not you're allowed to do whatever, but, I think at one time, we had separated them into different categories.
During COVID, when we had it on the ballot, we put all the water ones together, we put all of the,
we had
visit, you know,
like 4 or
home
5
service ones
together.
together.
That-
So we at least got the 20 down to, you know, 5 or 7.
Okay, well, I've said enough. We can think about that for the meeting, but
And we can recombine them and absolutely.
Because, I mean, well, okay, what if somebody looks at this is just my, and they decide that they don't want to give the library any money, so they're gonna vote no. So all of these, if
Right,
they're
and that
all
was the
pulled
other reason.
together.
Some people didn't support certain ones.
the whole thing gets voted no
Right.
because of one line?
So even though it's a pain to do each one individually.
All they gotta do is make an
I like that
amendment to the
better.
article to strike out that one, without voting them all down, because honestly, at the end of the day, I would be more likely to vote for this whole article, because say, someday I might need life flight, okay? I don't wanna strike them out, so you don't vote against that, it works the other way too.
Right.
Or, you know, just make a
That
motion
was just
to
one of the
vote on
reasons.
Articles 12 through 20 altogether collectively. They can do
Yes.
that.
Okay, well, it's just, food for thought.
Yes.
So we're gonna
Let's try to
revisit
streamline
this.
these and any other articles that we
Yep,
can going forward.
we can certainly work on that.
Okay.
Next one is the APAT. It has a 5%,
Wait a minute, isn't it dams or
Dams?
something?
What happened to the
Did I
dams?
miss
oh,
dams?
did I skip the dams? Dams.
Well, this was all-
Dams.
Oh, sorry, yep, dams. So these are,
Is the agreement with Sanford?
one of them is Sanford.
They haven't submitted a request?
We had this problem last year, we wanna make sure we
Yeah.
get it submitted.
This number came down from the previous year, as I recall, because there was
we
some
got a
special money in there to do some one-time things. So in total now, this is, $14,000? No. No.
Well, it's
Some of
funny,
this
when I
goes
look-
into our own reserve.
When I look at the 03, we haven't spent anything out of that. The 9,400?
You know,
Don't understand.
Let us do some research on these two articles.
yeah, you know, I wondered about that. There was, that committee.
Right.
They have a budget that the 3 towns contribute to. And,
We typically get a bill from them.
Well, in
yeah,
Sanford, I mean,
and
we
and that
haven't,
budget went down significantly.
Right.
And
Because they didn't
I
have the
thought
capital
that was the, I can go back and look, I thought it was the 5750.
I'd have to look, Tom.
And the other line looked like it went into one of our own reserve accounts for dams. Is that not
I
right?
believe it is an account that we got set up for future issues down the road, I thought.
Yes.
So say when they have another project down there to do on that dam, we have money forward.
So we're not writing a check to Sanford. It's being retained in effectively a
The
reserve account.
94, not the 5750
I think the
goes to
57 is going to Sanford.
That goes to Sanford.
And the rest of it is just being put in a reserve, thinking at some point in the future, we're gonna have to do something to contribute to dams, which I don't know if that's the right number, but sounds like a good practice.
All right, we found last year's warrant. Let's see.
See if we're right.
All right, let's see, who was right? All right, so Article 63, the Mousom Watershed Dam Coalition Annual Maintenance is the 9,400. That was
Oh,
approved.
okay, so I had them flipped.
And then the 5,000 was for the Dam Capital Improvement Fund.
That's what I'm.
And 750 went to Balch Lake.
Okay, all right.
So we need to move
we're
that
both wrong.
5,000.
But
Needs to get moved to
generally, we were right, but we had the numbers right.
I thought the number last year was like 7,000 some dollars.
Well, it was a little confusing because, I mean, they charged us this, but then we got some money back but they needed more and
I think
I'm
the prior year,
confused.
that number that was 9,400 was 15,000. And I think that, it was a total of 15 we paid to Sanford, because they had to do some one-time work. So it came back down to 9,400. And so there'll be some increase in that this year.
Is there any way we can get some sort of, something from Sanford, give
Well,
us an idea?
We have the budget that was approved, and yes, Tom, you're right, the year before, it was 14,613.
Okay.
There was a capital expense out of it. But yes, we'll reach out to them. We have the budget that you guys approved, because you did
Yeah, and
that.
I'm trying to
via Zoom.
remember the time on that, whether, I think it was for, the same period as our fiscal year.
Right, because
Yeah.
because Shapley, I'm on the budget committee over there, we got it because their town meeting is next week.
So we just, they gotta put a budget together so we can at least put it in there and then that committee can act on it and
Well, I think you guys already did. Remember you met and did the budget?
we haven't done it for 24.
Okay.
That's
I'll
what I'm
look.
getting at. I think we did it for.
Yeah, because we don't want to come in the same situation we did last year.
Yeah.
All right.
On the next one is the APAT budget. He submitted his budget and he based it on 53 weeks, but this year is gonna be 52 weeks. Last year was 53.
Okay.
So you're gonna notice that I changed all his numbers
Okay.
on the
Okay.
budget to reflect 52 weeks,
Good.
not 53.
All right, is there anything in here that's unusual? Let me see.
No, but, on behalf of the stipend positions that we've talked about, and you've given 5% increases, we have not increased the stipend per videotaping,
That's
since
gotta
we
be done.
started.
That's gotta be done.
Since we started?
Since we started.
Oh.
I think that's an accurate statement. Is that accurate? I think that's an
It's
accurate
by time
statement.
yeah.
So,
I think what we said earlier applies to all
Yeah.
employees.
Yeah, no, not on this one, I don't believe, because this hasn't been done for a long time.
We should probably do
Further
a,
adjustment is needed?
Yes.
yeah.
So you think
I
what?
would think we need an adjustment, like a cost. of
Because it hasn't been increased in a long time, they didn't get the 7% last year, and this has been, I don't know how many years, it's been the same. I think what we ought to do is have Mr. Corey give us a recommendation on what he thinks that should be, and we can kind of break.
and he does keep, because of his other position, keeps really good records, so we can get an idea, an average of how long the meetings are, so you can figure out what the hourly rates are.
You know,
Base
we ask them to
increase.
find out what other towns are paying too.
Most towns don't have Sanford's got a camera crew, but,
Most towns
I don't
don't
think we're gonna be able to get apples and apples on this. I think this is something here we gotta look at how many
Lebanon's
hours.
got somebody's phone running at their meetings.
we've
Shapley
got a-
doesn't.
Really?
Yeah.
We've gotta look at it like, we'll use Virginia.
Let's not
okay?
pour Virginia.
Like, she isn't coming to this meeting to just watch us.
Right.
She's actually driving her vehicle.
Yeah,
Okay, we're paying
Yeah.
people mileage to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then to come up here and watch us, and I know it's a lot of fun, but
Well, and that's-
she ought to be compensated, these people have to be compensated for their time getting here, roughly, you know what I mean? And we gotta see whether or not it's adequate.
Well, right, and that's why I think the average meetings plays into it, because if if the meetings average at 2 hours, they get a half hour setup, a half hour breakdown, you're looking at, okay, $25 an hour. If they're averaging 3 or 4, they might be down to, barely minimum wage, so.
Yeah, you take a planning board meeting, can roll 3 hours, a
Right, but
finance
remember,
meeting could do it.
we always do a
that.
double stipend too, anything over
Yeah.
3 hours, we do pay them double.
you know,
Over 3.
Right, but there still needs to be an increase of some sort.
Long night.
why are these individuals stipends as opposed to hourly rates?
It's just how it was. set.
Because this is what happens. When I run the meeting, it goes really fast, they're out of here, she gets,
She gets $10.
she gets $10.
They'll be fighting over.
When
they'll
you
be
run the
fighting-
meeting, she makes good money. So,
They would want planning board, right, that's a
I
good
got
point.
it, I got it.
All right, so let me work with him on that and get back to you for our next budget meeting. That was a good one, David. As we flip the page. All right. Rec. So the rec director position, has just the 5% increase. General maintenance went down a little bit. Her miscellaneous has gone up quite a bit. Kim, you wanna talk about what that is? And before she does that, this is another one you're gonna wanna meet with, because she has some special capital projects that she would like funded in separate warrant articles, for example, 40,000 for a playground.
Playground,
But what is the miscellaneous? Why did that double?
I'm trying to remember. I know she's put in for more uniforms. She wants new uniforms. I'm trying to think what else.
She didn't
She's already got the money.
she didn't give me the spreadsheet.
Did she write out, was there any write-up on this?
I didn't bring it with me.
No write-up provided?
Trying to
We'll bring
think,
her in.
Yeah, let's talk.
electrical for the snack shack.
Which we still are not getting billed for.
Okay.
Just,
Oh,
we're not getting
okay.
billed for that.
For the electrical.
We haven't
For
since
the
they put it
electrical,
in.
since they put it in. And
That's
We've called
awesome.
them so many times.
Really?
You know.
I don't know, maybe the school's picking it up and they don't know it. I don't
Hot dog
know.
machine. I'm trying to think. Hot dog
They're making it up
machine.
somewhere else.
No, I mean, I don't know who else would pay for
I
it.
think before we, obviously we gotta meet with them.
Yeah,
We have a chunk of money that we voted in already for the parking
driveway,
lot.
yep.
We are meeting with the engineer tonight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, tonight. I think before we get too far along and just voting in more money, we ought to at least get some sort of design and something like that before we ask for, so what, any money that I think we should be voting for, other than, yeah, the other stuff, the miscellaneous stuff, just needs, that she needs, fine. But I think, myself, we should be looking at making sure we have enough to cover engineer and start of the project that we've already got ahead of us.
Her shed may
and
be in there.
her year will be up, so.
Shed.
you know, Oh,
Probably
yes,
there.
the sheds are in there.
Oh.
Also, I know that once the year was up, we had said we'd revisit, and
Yep.
she would like to, add more sports, different things like that. She'd like to do, like, cheer. this
she's doing
summer.
cheer.
Yeah.
But she wants to expand that
Yeah,
cheering.
she would like to expand it, so I think.
But I think there's, I mean,
Flex.
not to get too far off rec, but we need to, get some things in place for uniform check-ins, check-outs. I mean,
we wanna talk to
we're
her.
buying a lot
We
of.
wanna
I
talk
think
to
we
her,
should
so
talk to us. There was a,
let's have her go through it.
Well, it's an easy way to solve that problem. If the people, like, when my son was a senior, we got his jersey, because, I mean, that's, what you remember is last year football.
Right.
We should be giving these people an option to buy their jersey. That way we can recoup the money, put it back in the account so they can buy new ones.
Right, good
Right?
idea. All right, so we'll bring her in. So the last few pages, we do not need to go over. These are just, extra pages, and these are what we used from fund balance for last year. So really, for the next meeting, we need to figure out if you guys have any special projects you're thinking about bringing forward. We need to talk about other, because this was the fire truck, this was the, facility engineer, those miscellaneous. So this is all obsolete, the rest of the initial worksheet.
All right, okay.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 departments we're gonna bring in.
Yeah.
And, Kelly and I have some work to do on our end. We need to schedule another budget workshop. Do you wanna bring all these 4 in the same time?
There are 4 people, if we did,
So fire department, roads,
two.
let's think about it, we got fire and roads are gonna take some time.
Why don't we switch those so that we have
With
rec
the other.
and roads.
Fire department and
and
rec.
Fire department and the other one.
Yeah, that would be good,
okay, so let's look at our calendar. Do we want to,
all right? And we have to have, and we should have this done by when?
well, we want to at least, look at who Warren and Finance is meeting with on March 6th. I mean, you guys can turn the budgets over as they've presented and they can start working on it. And they don't have a warrant yet, but if we at least look at who they're meeting with on March 6th, we could do their budgets first.
We've got a few things to follow up on in all those other departments that we review. But generally, those budgets are substantially done now,
Yes.
correct? Mm-hmm. So that's municipal government. What else
That we have to,
that we've done?
I mean, we're pretty much,
We're in pretty good shape.
Right, yeah.
So we ought to be able to get those to the warrant and finance committee.
well, we should have one more workshop because she's gonna pull numbers out. We don't wanna
Okay,
release it to
and
them.
we'll review those again,
Yes.
all right? So we don't necessarily have to give Warren Finance everything, we have to give them
No, I
enough
mean,
to
it's,
keep them
it's nice to
going.
do it all
Is that
at
a fair
once, so we don't
statement, Dennis?
keep in, I mean,
I caught you asleep, huh? We're talking about, we've done many of these budgets, but some we need to have some meetings with people about.
I'll have a conversation with Jen, and we'll adjust who we meet with according to
Terrific.
whatever you.
That's great.
we'll figure that out.
That's enough for me.
So, yeah, we'll figure out, we just need to figure out the next workshop and, we're gonna need to waive our 10-day policy to get another one in a reasonable amount of time,
Okay,
so. But we
right.
can talk about that tonight, 'cause we can't really make a decision here.
all right,
Okay.
fair enough. Are we,
Look
Are
at
we
me
done
getting us
for
out
today?
15 minutes early.
huh?
Look at me getting us out 15 minutes
I
early.
know, great. So I guess we're ready to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you, Virginia.